Welcome back guys, TechMayor here. If you're new here, click the subscribe button and please don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get notified when I post new content. So in this video, we'll be talking about the Infinix Hot 9. It was released in Asia March 23 and it's yet to hit the African borders. Its predecessor, the Infinix Hot 8, was quite popular among the mid-range device of 2019. But will the Infinix Hot 9 meet up expectation or surpass the reputation of the Infinix Hot 8? Let's find out. So on the spec sheet, we have 6.6-inch HD Plus Infinity O display, 5000 mAh battery, 16 megapixel AI quad camera with macro lens, DTS audio processing, XOS 6.0 based on the Android 10, fingerprint and face unlock. Having all of these specs doesn't really mean much if you, the consumer, are not satisfied. So let's you and me dive straight into this phone. Okay, let's start with the design and display. You have a plastic frame, plastic back, 16MP AI quad camera setup at the back, with LED flash at the back as well, fingerprint sensor in the middle, and of course the Infinix logo and the Hot signature at the bottom. And look closely, you have a DTS sound logo. We'll get back into that later. And in front, you have a 6.6-inch HD Plus Infinity O display and a punch hole camera on the left part, which is a perfect spot for it. The display is the LCD type of display, but it's a different kind of LCD. It's a TFT kind of display. For those who do not know what TFT is actually a type of LCD, as I mentioned before. It's an active matrix screen, which the pixels can be turned off individually, meaning you get a more better display than the Infinix Hot 8. And dark mode on this device will be lit because the pixels can be turned off individually, unlike you see on most devices where you have a darker ash instead of a rich black color. Personally, what I do not like about this device is the fact that the resolution is 1600 by 720 pixels, and 720 pixels in 2020, come on. But I guess there is a little bit of good news because they claim it's a HD Plus screen, and the fact that it is TFT, so we have a richer colors, we have more cinematic look as they claim. Next is the hardware, comprising of the memory, camera, the chipset, and then the battery. The Hot 9 has octa-core. That is the good news. Uses the MediaTek Helio A25. This is an entry-level chip though, which was released early 2020, about 3 months ago. I could take a bet on it and it performs pretty good for its price point. If you want to enjoy this phone, I suggest you go for a higher gig RAM. Infinix offers 2GB 32GB, 64GB 3GB, 64GB 4GB and 128GB 4GB RAM. Battery on this device is 5000 mAh and Infinix claims it could last you for complete 3 days. Well, that could be true in theory, but I wouldn't be so sure because how your battery lasts depends on how you use it. Are you using the mobile data or the Wi-Fi, or you're not connected to the internet at all? Or how many games are you playing every day? As for gaming, you have to be selective on which games you play. Now, the high-end games require a lot more RAM and the lower games require a little bit of RAM. So if you buy the 3GB RAM and you're expected to play Asphalt 9 or PUBG or Call of Duty, it will be slow. So I advise you to get the 4GB RAM for a perfect, not really that perfect, but still, you still have to reduce the resolution to medium because 4GB RAM, I wouldn't really trust it. But with the processor, I think that should be good. On board is the XOS 6.0 based on Android 10. You get the dark mode and quite new exciting features which will be reviewed in this channel when the device is made available here in Nigeria. Now to the camera. This is a quite interesting one. We have two separate versions. The 32GB of storage uses a 13 megapixel camera for the first one. The second is the 2 megapixel camera, which is a macro lens. The third 2 megapixel also a depth sensor lens. And lastly, QVGA, which is a low light sensor. While the 64 and 128GB variant has 16 megapixel wide angle lens, 2 megapixel macro lens, 2 megapixel depth sensor lens, and also a QVGA low light sensor. And in front, you have 8 megapixel on whichever device you choose. Either of the variations you choose shoots videos at 1080p 30 frames per second. So guys, this is very clear. If you want an optimal performance, you have to buy the 64GB 4GB RAM or the 64GB 3GB RAM. Whichever one works for you, but I think it's way more better if you choose a higher RAM and a higher storage. And the thing is, the camera looks so good in spec, but in reality, we all know that we can't really trust these cameras when they write out 16 megapixel, 30 megapixel, and in reality, it doesn't turn out that way. So I will have to do a test on that when the device finally arrives. Yes, the sound. We have DTS sound on board, which will give you a better and very clear sound experience. But we can't really trust the manufacturers until we test this ourselves. For colors, we have the Quetzal Cyan, Midnight Black, Violet, and Ocean Wave. So we're not really sure about the price, but it should be around 90 euros, which is say 35 to 50k. So it depends on the RAM or the storage size you're buying. So here's my verdict. First, I do not like the 720 display because it's not really nice. If you say comparing from the Infinix Hot 8, it wasn't really that impressive, but I hope with the TFT display, that should be very nice. Second is the RAM. So I think they should scrap off the 2GB RAM and give us probably a base model of 4GB, or okay, let's not go too far. Let them start from 3GB because it's actually kind of cheap. So let them start from 3GB, then work their way up to 4, then 6GB. What do you think, guys? Drop me a comment in the comment section below. And if you have not subscribed, so if you found this informative, smash that like button. Stay home, stay safe. As always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.